So the Magpies host the Spireites in Nottinghamshire. This is a Football League fixture as recently as 2018. Both these clubs desperate to get back there. Each among those being talked about as potential promotion contenders pre-season, but only Notts have got close to living up to that billing. A season of serious underachievement at the Pro Act, but recent signs of improvement out of Virgo, and Chesterfield will be keen to build on that today. It's a good atmosphere for this derby.
It's a brilliant atmosphere in this brilliant, iconic ground, and that will certainly help the players. A massive deal. So the departure of John Sheridan, I think it's one of those they kept with him, but there were so many altercations off the field, team selection, dealing with players that ended up working against him. Above all, the results was the main factor of it all. Ended up losing his job. John's come in and steadied the ship. We mentioned about a steady side, steady formation, but fitness levels have certainly raised over the last couple of weeks in his tenure. They certainly look a lot fitter than probably what they were under John Sheridan. Notts County, very up and down season, started a little bit slow, but recently have gone on real good form. LRD has adjusted well to National League football. Certainly a great game in prospect this afternoon.
Really road to the head here for Rose in that challenge with the Spireites skipper Curtis Weston, who's been important for him since he took over. John Pemberton in his second spell as caretaker manager of Chesterfield. In fact, he's been in charge of the Spireites for 6 games in total. They haven't lost any of them. Saying to Matt and Chris before the game how he doesn't have a contract, but he's fine with that in the current circumstances, with a potential takeover as well in the offing at Chesterfield. Taken away from Bowden and put out of play by Richard Brinley. Throw-in taken quickly, and Bowden is found again here. Fitzsimmons closed down. Weston wins it back for Chesterfield. A good tempo about the game in the early stages at Meadow Lane. O'Brien making his first start since mid-December today. Jim O'Brien slotting into that central midfield role with Michael Doyle out suspended. Denton with the attempted flick on, but Notts have it back again quickly here. Roberts making his home debut. No time at all to settle on the ball in the early stages here. It's what you'd expect in a local derby, really.
And certainly a good tempo to the game so far. Been in Chesterfield position before. When you play away from home in front of a good atmosphere, you do tend to raise your game a little bit more, a little bit less pressure off you than when you do play at home. Still playing with the 2 strikers, so John's very happy to try and press on that different Notts County midfield with Jim O'Brien coming in for the captain, Michael Doyle, who's picked up a really good relationship there with Mitch Rose across the middle. First 15 minutes always going to be quite edgy, but then you hope that your ball players settle down and the game will just settle down nicely. Chances will be created and goals will be scored.
Thomas sliding in to win it back for the Spireites was Yarni. Baldwin then has it taken off here. Bowden it was giving chase, but it's back through here to Ross Fitzsimmons. Given away by O'Brien. Both sides guilty of losing possession a fair bit in the early stages here. Baldwin has played more minutes in the league this season than any other Notts player. Wallace. Buchanan. Denton. Chance for Notts to get forward here. Baldwin. Kelly Evans, who's in rather unfamiliar position on the left-hand side today. Roberts looking to drive on, too far away. And the man making his home debut today, signed from Blythe, last month, Callum Roberts.
I think it's a really interesting momentum of this early period of the game so far. But you can clearly see that Chesterfield are really happy to press in that midfield. And if you get the press wrong, the little balls around the corners to the likes of Thomas and Roberts in particular, to get on that half-turn, there will be space for them to drive at Chesterfield in that final third.
Bit of a surprise, you know, when Callum Roberts was let go by Newcastle at the end of last season. He'd been with their academy since he was 8 years old and was thought to be quite a prospect. Went to Blythe in the 6th tier and got 11 goals in 19 games, and now finds himself at Notts County. Cropper loses it. Baldwin. Roberts. Brinley's ball inside here to Rose. Back again to Brinley. Roberts. Bryant's pass here to Mitch Rose. Kelly Evans, formerly of Coventry. Bowden wins it back for Chesterfield. Weston stretching but got there. Yarni taking no chances under pressure there. Former Everton and Newcastle player. Needs to be on the ball, Joseph Yarni. Ball playing centre half. 3 at the back for Chesterfield here, and a chance for that back line to be tested here. A long throw perhaps coming from Mitch Rose. Denton, the centre forward back, doing defensive work, and he's a handy figure to have in the side to force set pieces, something that John Pemberton has talked about actually. Missed by Yarni, touched by Wedgbury. Really has been an unexpectedly underwhelming season of struggle for Chesterfield. Relegation to National League North, almost unthinkable for their supporters, but the threat of it still looms large. 3 unbeaten at the moment. Now they need to keep building on that, the Spireites, if they're to get out of this predicament. It is a very unforgiving league. Rose with another long throw. Header by Baldwin. Might drop here for Wes Thomas. That by Cropper. Baldwin just found a bit of space for a moment. His cross was good too, and the header off the post, and Thomas is there, but he couldn't divert it home. Well, it was Rawlinson who was up from the back and came agonisingly close to the opening goal.
Well, it's really well played there for Notts County, because twice now they've gone for the long throw, and this time they go short. Listen, just standing jump, doesn't really get a lot of power on it, but the timing of the header generates enough to really test Jalal in the goal. It's a brilliant head down. Goalkeeper is beaten, but the post isn't.
The push by Carl Wootton gives Chesterfield a free kick. His loan signing from Scunthorpe made permanent on the 8th of January, says this feels like home. Hasn't actually scored since signing his contract, but by and large has done very well up front for Notts this season. In fact, they've got 3 players actually in all competitions who are in double figures for goals this season, Wootton being one of them. Chesterfield, though, to threaten from the set piece. Up towards Denton, who won his header. And then it came off Will Evans, the Chesterfield captain.
Well, certainly an earlier problem for Notts County at the start of the season, defending set plays and corners and free kicks. See if it's set play against Dagenham, but recently have tightened up pretty well. But that diagonal to Denton, have to be watching of him.
Too much on that for Roberts, who is pretty quick, but still a big ask. Plenty of Chesterfield supporters have made the short trip down the M1. It'll have been for most of them. Two clubs that, in difficult times, have retained great support. They really have been backed superbly, both of these clubs. John Pemberton has been saying how one of the things he's been looking to do, Adam, is just bring basic organisation to the side, get them into routines, get them into good habits. Seems to have been doing that.
A magnificent job, and I've been in the situations myself when a manager's been sacked and you are struggling at the bottom of the league, and all the manager comes in is really simplify what he wants from you, basic instructions to players, settling in on a formation, settling in on a team shape and personnel, which is massively, and he's brought Sam Wedgbury back into midfield, which he fell out in favour under John Sheridan, so bringing one or two back in with a bit of work rate, a bit of experience as well, go massively, very, very well. A clean sheet against Sutton and Eastleigh recently, and a performance against Farder, are fighting for their lives as well. Encouraging signs so far early in this period of the game, but need to be better on the ball slightly when they win it back off Notts County.
Yarni's cross. Weston. "13 points between these clubs right now. It's looking a good bet for the playoff place, is survival. Chesterfield's only priority right now. Last weekend's 2-0 loss at Dagenham and Redbridge ended a 9-match unbeaten run for Notts. They'd won 6 of those as well. Chesterfield, have now equalled their longest unbeaten run of the season, that being 3 matches after drawing 1-1 with Fylde at the Pro Act in their last game. And John Pemberton was saying he saw it as an obvious sign of progress, Adam, that the players came into the dressing room after the Fylde game disappointed that they'd only drawn the game. And he said there's not been many occasions where that's been the case this season.
No, not at all. Poor in certain games. I remember seeing the games against Halifax, Chorley, and they conceded 3-5 against Hartlepool. Was a tough day for them. Particularly the result against Chorley, I remember really felt that day that maybe the writing was on the wall for John Sheridan. They persisted with him. These players have let the club down massively as well. It's not just the manager. They've got a good setting, they've got a good stadium, they've got a good fan base. Plenty of experience in this side. It's underachieved massively.
Thomas. Both sets of players appealing here. It's gone the way of Notts County. Real bundle of energy, isn't it, Wes Thomas? Into double figures, for goals, league goals for a 3rd season running. Roberts with the cross. Struck by O'Brien, which turned into a pass for Wootton, who was offside. This 3-game unbeaten run for Chesterfield, of course, coincides with the dismissal of the previous manager, John Sheridan, who lost his job after a 3-0 defeat at Solihull on New Year's Day. Since then, they've won 2 and drawn 1. The Spireites. There are some positive signs for a side who are still very much fighting relegation. Brilliant. Kelly Evans. Baldwin. Notts player to feature in every league game this season. Baldwin. had an interview with him when he was saying the other day, asked who the best player he'd ever played with was, and he said Dries Mertens, who he was with at Utrecht when he was starting out. Not a bad name drop, that, was it? Weston gets it wide here. Buchanan. Nicely done. Rhodes heads inside. Thomas looking to try and make something of this, and was he being held there by Yarni? He was. Not too far outside of the box either. Yellow card here. One of the Chesterfield centre-halves.
Well, Jim O'Brien did absolutely brilliantly to keep composure in the edge of his box, and he got laid back to him, and it's just the outside of the boot ball that it's a horrible one for Yarni to deal with, because the ball bends away from him and it allows him to bounce. I think there's enough cover there from Evans to stop him being the last player. I think a yellow card is certainly the right decision there from James Belt. I think that's why Thomas is in the side. I think he's got good options with the likes of Wootton and Dennis and Thomas as well. I know Tyson's gone out, but I think Thomas is in just purely because of his pace.
Baldwin fancies this. Roberts is there as well. Will Jalal be troubled here? Not too far past the quarter of an hour mark at Meadow Lane. Could be a key moment, this. Both players very capable in this sort of situation. It's going to be Baldwin, and they hit the woodwork for a second time, not counting.
Well, it's a great attempt. Certainly deserves a round of applause from the crowd. The wall doesn't jump, and that allows him to get that trajectory with a bit more power towards Jalal's goal. Very unlucky.
6 goals he's got in the National League this season, the Dutchman Enzio Baldwin. Of course, if he were in the Netherlands, it would be pronounced Baldwin. I should point that out, but he seems very happy with the anglicised pronunciation of Baldwin. Put out by Kelly Evans. I would imagine he's going to go long here. Does go long, can it? Good trajectory on it too. Thrown in there by Cropper. He's 19 years old, Jordan Cropper, on loan from Burnley. He's something of a long throw specialist. Wootton back helping out, flicked on by Enzio Baldwin. Wedgbury gets it wide.
It's very important concentration for both sides with the long throw, that they be aware that the little ball that drops down, with that second ball that could fall to either a Notts County player. And see Smith and Weston on the edge of the box there.
Great throw in again by Cropper. Of course, him being loaned from Burnley is probably a bit of a case of Sean Dyche doing his former club a bit of a favour. Actually started out at Nottingham Forest, Cropper. Rose with the header clean. Roberts unable to keep that in. Certainly the home side have had the better of the opening 19 minutes.
It's been a good tempo to the game, and that will certainly be expected considering how much is on for both teams. A little bit of quality needed more in the final third, but 20 minutes to 0 will be slightly the happier.
Cropper with the cross. It was Bowden who got his head to it.
It's always about how it can just be directed nicely. There's quite a lot of power on the cross that comes in.
7 National League games without a goal for Scott Bowden, has 9 in the league so far this season. Simmons put under pressure. Just a reminder, we have the Vanarama National League highlight show tonight. That's at 7:30 with Matt Smith and Chris Hargreaves. An FA Cup replay to bring you on Wednesday as well. Tottenham against Southampton. The winners of that will play Norwich in the 5th round. That's live from 7:15 on BT Sport 1 and Ultimate. Brought inside by Cropper. Rawlinson brings it forward here for the Magpies. Plenty of time and space here for Enzio Baldwin. Thomas and Roberts and Wootton all in the box here. Kelly Evans with the cross.
Kelly Evans, being natural right back, will always be looking to cutting on his right, being a master player at left back.
He's been keen to get more opportunities in the starting lineup, Kelly Evans. Perhaps not at left back, he'd probably rather be in his more usual position on the right-hand side, but needs must. Point that Neil Ardley made before the game, Adam, when asked about the injury problems they've got right now, said yes, it's not ideal at all, but the one thing he's noted this season is when they've been up against it in terms of injuries, the squad has tended to pull together and they have got good results in adversity.
They do. I mean, a lot of injuries on the table, but still a very good starting 11 out this evening. Slocum's probably the biggest loss for him.
Roberts with the pass to the right back Brinley, who've got a long way forward.
I think that's what's been missing in the first opening 21 minutes of the game so far. Just a bit of quality in the final third in terms of testing both goalkeepers.
Says how desperate they are to cement a playoff place, Notts County. Made the point that it is so tight in terms of the race for the playoff places that a couple of defeats and suddenly you can be slipping into mid-table. Kelly Evans got there before Bowden. In the 7th tier title with Kettering last season. Kelly Evans. Going for Football League promotion now with Notts County, but we see another one of these long throw-ins from the teenager Jordan Cropper. Well, the goalkeeper has misjudged that, and those long throw-ins are causing problems.
Oh, a nightmare to defend against.
Well, one back here by Weston. And the centre half there, Will Evans, had stayed forward.
And he gets really good trajectory on it, and it's so hard for a defender to come and attack it. Simmons gets that one horribly wrong, comes out, goes into a crowded body of players, misjudges the power of the throw. Rose does well there to cover his goalkeeper's back.
His 3rd season with Notts, Fitzsimmons, but has had very little football of late. I mentioned earlier, this is only his 2nd league appearance of the season. And there is, you know, the distinct possibility, Adam, that with his future still up in the air, that once Slocum, the first choice, is back fit, I'm led to believe that Chesterfield would ideally like him back with them, so he finds himself in such an unusual position here today, the backup keeper for Notts. Smith with the ball wide. Sliced out of play by Yanni. Chesterfield, a League One side as recently as 2017. Notts were relegated themselves from that level in 2015. Both have the fan base and facilities more than worthy of an eventual return to the 3rd tier, but it's a long way back, particularly for Chesterfield, who've got to avoid relegation before they can even think about promotions. Played forward by Rose. Thomas takes the free kick quickly. Fired wide to Baldwin, who's got Dion Kelly-Evans beyond him. O'Brien. Brinley. Roberts with the cross, a teasing ball it was too, to the back post where Kelly Evans had made the run.
That was good play there from Notts County. They took the free kick really quickly, so it wouldn't allow Chesterfield to really set themselves up for a free kick to defend against. Tried to get the ball out wide there. Bad ball to the far post, a little bit too much power on it. Certainly encouraging signs again for the home team.
This John Pemberton's fourth game in caretaker charge. The man who he replaced, John Sheridan, only won one of his final 12 games in charge of Chesterfield, losing 8 of them. That's his last home win. It was actually against Notts, that live on BT Sport back in October. The applause again you'll hear for Gordon Sinnott, which is great to hear from both sets of supporters, I've got to say. Brinley. Should be Jalal's, and is. I must say that the feeling and the respect shown for Gordon Sinnott today by both sets of supporters really has been fantastic. No one of the substitutes today for Notts County, Christian Dennis, counted him among his best friends in football. In fact, he'd been meant to be going to Christian's wedding this coming summer. Yanni with the ball forward. Header forward by Baldwin. Evans there for Chesterfield. Now Yanni. Kelly Evans. Long ball was by Hollis, former Notts County player. And ball by Rose.
Well, certainly will be periods of this game now for John Pemberton's side where things will go against them and concentration will be absolutely key for them, and then when they do get opportunities when they are on top, and they certainly have to make it count in possession in particular. Almost half an hour into the game, they've really had a period of the game so far where they've dominated possession, but set plays, the likes of Denton and Evans, could prove pivotal.
Plenty of movement here as well from Denton. Bowden just stood on the edge of the area too. Evans is up from the back. It's Evans who's got his head on there. And it's turned behind for a corner by Lacey.
On the central free kick, you know you're going to go on the diagonal. And with Evans and Denton there, you know where the ball's going to go. So be aware, if Denton wins it, you have to be ready for that second ball.
Curtis Weston to take it. Tell you about more live action that we have coming up on BT Sport. Loads from the Premier League. Next Saturday, the early kick-off is from Goodison Park, Everton against Crystal Palace. And then later, that same day, we have Brighton against Watford, a key game in terms of the relegation battle in the Premier League. And then next Sunday from 1:15, it's Sheffield United chasing a European place, aren't they, up against Bournemouth, who are fighting relegation. Next Sunday from 1:15 for them. Really important, Adam, for Notts County and Neil Ardley that they do bounce back quickly from that loss at Dagenham and Redbridge last weekend, because of course it followed a real run of consistency. They were unbeaten in 9 and won 6 of them.
Well, they had done, and picked up real momentum and scoring goals along the way. Really made that adjustment to this league and been playing very, very well. Especially at home, they picked up real momentum, making this a bit more of a fortress. They got beat by Barrow, and I thought Barrow were excellent for their 3 points, but since then they've kept 5 clean sheets in a row and made this a real fortress. Get themselves up the league.
Yarni to Evans. It's the third meeting of the season between these clubs. As the long ball quite find Bowden. Out came Fitzsimmons. It was Chesterfield, as I mentioned earlier, when the reverse league fixture back in October. Notts came out on top in the FA Trophy last month. Brindley. Rawlinson finds Brindley again here. Former Chesterfield player at right back for the Magpies today. Kelly Evans. O'Brien. Good search forward by O'Brien, who's picked out Enzio Baldwin. Wootton and Thomas waiting patiently in the middle. Kelly Evans. And Wootton with the flick on that didn't quite find Thomas. The goalkeeper had to rush out. Played the sweeper keeper out well there. Fitzsimmons. Wootton. Roberts away from West. Width provided by Kelly Evans. Let's come back here to Roberts. Only having to be careful. Kelly Evans, good build-up play this by Notts County. Baldwin, very often looks to shoot in these sort of positions. Lofted in there by O'Brien. Easy take for Shwan Jalal.
Certainly playing very narrow, Chesterfield, in their own half when Notts County are 25 yards from their goal, trying to frustrate them and ask questions of them how to break them down. And at the moment, Neil Ardley's side can't quite find the key to unlock the door to try and create opportunities to test Jalal.
Buchanan insisting that that should have been a Spireites throw-in. Started the last 8 games. David Buchanan, his best run of the season in terms of a run in the side. He was out quite a while earlier on in the campaign with a knee injury. I think that's the thing, just of late, under Pemberton though, Adam, that the Chesterfield supporters are talking about is the consistency in terms of selection, players playing in their best positions. For example, Buchanan was used in central midfield by John Sheridan.
Yeah, I think sometimes with John, you pick players and then the next week they wouldn't even be in the squad. It should be a consistent rotation of players that start and then they don't start and not too sure where they're going to be, and Sam Wedgbury coming in and then you drop him out of the squad completely. I think John's just tried to stabilise the squad in terms of confidence and giving players simple directions. Not been great so far, but they're fighting a lot more than what I've seen of them in recent times before this game.
Jonathan Smith with the header forward. I have to say, one of the things that John Pemberton said ahead of this game that really raised my eyebrows was that, and to quote him directly, that he said that the players said they needed to understand how to be more organised, which is what I'm working on with them. I have to say, as someone who hasn't played professional football, that surprised me that the players had come to the manager and said we need help on how to be more organised.
Well, we don't have the highest IQs, Adam. But sometimes you're being asked to do things which is not expected of you, and sometimes managers will tell you to do things that, I think the word you don't understand, players do understand, but it just needs to be a little bit more simpler and really simplify what you want me to do on the ball and what you want me to do off the ball. I think sometimes players get misdirection and get a lot of information sent to them. When you do stuff and it's not going right, you're saying, well, this is what the manager's asking me to do. I that's where John's come in and just really simplified everything.
Whatever he has been doing, whatever he has been saying, has clearly been working. So can he get them out of this predicament, though, that they find themselves in? Chesterfield inside the bottom four right now. And I have to say as well, Adam, another defeat today for Fylde too. I just never in a million years would have thought that Chesterfield and Fylde would have been in the bottom four at this stage of the season.
Well, I'll go on record on saying that the way they're playing, the way they are at the moment, they're going down. There's two types of relegation. When you get relegated heroically, when you're in Chorley's situation where you're part-time and you're fighting for your lives week in, week out, and you may go down with a few games to go, and it's a compliment to how far you take the season to stay in the division. And then there's another type of relegation where you look at the players, you look at the individuals, and that Fylde team at the minute are letting the fans down massively, they're letting themselves down massively. It's been an absolute mess this season of where they are, and at the moment they need to fight. And for me, I just think they've got too many players that like to play pretty football, and they need to really roll their sleeves up, and I don't know if they've got that personnel in their squad. Danny Rowe not there anymore. I know he hasn't really been prolific this season, but I worry for them massively at the moment.
Baldwin, who was found by Kelly Evans. Baldwin, great cross, and Thomas was there, just couldn't quite direct it on target, but we see again the threat of Baldwin on the left-hand side.
It's a decent cross in there. A bit like the Scott Bowden opportunity, there's quite a lot of pace on the cross. So it's very difficult then to adjust your body shape to get the header towards goal. Got a little bit underneath it. Again, not hitting the target.
Serve from Grimsby last summer was Thomas. Talk about the improvements from Chesterfield in recent weeks. I think defending has been key to that. They've only conceded 1 goal across their last 3 games, 2 of them clean sheets. Notts have been defending well of late, 2 clean sheets in 4 of their last 7 games. The worry for Neil Ardley as they chase promotion, Adam, will be the fact that things not going so well at the other end of the pitch. They've not scored in 3 of their last 4 National League games, Notts counting, 2 of them goalless draws. I think he has said before this game that they are still creating chances, though. Yeah. We've seen that today as well.
There are chances being created, and 3 strikers that he's got as options have found the back of the net more often than not this season, and sometimes it falls for you and sometimes it doesn't. He has to be patient. It's always going to be a difficult season for Notts County to bounce back after the shambolic off-the-field incidences that have happened. He's had a lot to deal with last season as well. Went in there, did a brilliant job, lost in the playoffs, decided to sack him, bring Harry Kewell in, tried to change the philosophy of football, didn't work. I thought Neil did a brilliant job at AFC Wimbledon, took them to a playoff final, took them into League One. It's always going to be a hard season for them to adjust. They're a big side as well, so they are everybody's cup final.
Thomas had Hollis at his back, wide is Brindley. Roberts calling for him. Came off Thomas, they were trying to play their way out there. Chesterfield and Hollis taking a risk.
Well, you'll certainly be frustrated the way that you've defended the early period of this first half and trying to play out for the ball. I don't think that Curtis Weston should have been playing the ball back there. Situation.
Buchanan's a long way forward, it's dropped. Oh, was he pulled back there? He was! Penalty! Well, the left wing back found himself in very unusual territory there, but he was causing problems that Notts couldn't deal with. Bowden with the flick forward.
It's the right decision, 100% the penalty. The flick off from Denton. Bowden's in the right position. That's what you want. You want your centre forwards playing with each other really, really well. Cannon makes a great run. Brindley allows the ball to bounce. He gets goal side, and all of a sudden he's in trouble. He pulls him back. 100% the penalty. Great refereeing there from James Bell.
Scott Bowden, who's gone 7 National League games without a goal. is to take the penalty for the Spireites up against Ross Fitzsimmons, who only recently, of course, was a teammate while the goalkeeper was on loan at Chesterfield. A pressure penalty. It's saved! Brilliant stop by Fitzsimmons. And what a story this is. The man who was on loan at Chesterfield keeps out the penalty. And what a let-off it is for the Magpies. I have to say, Adam, we'll see the replay of this. Surely Bowden could have chased that in there.
He should have done. And Mitch Rose, just before the penalty was taken, said something in his ear. And little things, he already started his run-up even before the penalty had blown, the referee had blown to take the penalty. He misses it. His reaction afterward, he just stops, and he should have followed it in.
It would have been tight, but I think if he'd followed that in, there was a very good chance Bowden could have got to that. It had got away from the goalkeeper. We'll have another look at that in a moment, but what a chance for Chesterfield to break the deadlock, and it would have been against the run of play. Brindley. Roberts with the turn, clearance by Buchanan. Smith. Wedgebrook. You could talk about the wisdom as well, Adam, of putting Bowden on the penalty in the first place. A player who's in a dry spell, unusually for him because he's a fantastic centre-forward at this level of football, but he hasn't scored in 7 league games. Smith with the cross, slipped by Denton. Kelly Evans with the header. All happening.
Big moment of the game there. Don't forget, it was a very good save as well. Poor now Notts County, just see this little period out. Save the penalty, get away with it, and then all of a sudden, see this bit out, not concede.
Cropper with the throw-in. Kelly Evans stuck his head on it, and it will be a corner to the Spireites. He might not have scored there, but they are certainly asking more questions now of Notts County, who, remember, have hit the woodwork twice so far, the home side. Buchanan will take this, of course, suits the left foot. There is a bit of a wind swirling round Meadow Lane as well. Nice and Lacey watching each other closely. Rawlinson detailed to mark the big man. Tom Denton surely will be the target for this. Wide it goes. It's going to be another corner. Two minutes of the first half remaining. Still we await the opening goal, but there's been no lack of incident and entertainment so far in Nottinghamshire. Denton misses it. Oh, there were two players going for that there. Chip forward by Cropper, and Denton won the header, and Bowden was there, and there's the shot off the bar, but the whistle had already gone. Well, let's have another look at this penalty from Bowden now. Could he have scored if he followed this in?
Well, he got a little message there from Mitch Rose, say probably don't miss. He's already running before the whistle was taken, then he looks at the referee and then takes it. But look at his reaction afterwards. Weston runs in after him, he almost gets there. I feel if Bowden follows in, he gets on the end of that. I think when you're short on confidence and you miss, that's your natural reaction. It was ugly all round.
Well, he's not had a bad season. 9 in 29 league games, so around 1 in 3. He was the top scorer last season. 10 in 15, and he came partway through the season. prevented the goal kick. Well,
I will say it's been a decent reaction from Chesterfield. You missed the penalty, but that hasn't really let them affect them in terms of dropping their heads and allowing Notts County to get a little foothold into the game. Still pressing, still trying to work hard when they don't have the ball.
The mini turnaround seen at Chesterfield since Pemberton took temporary charges. Certainly been impressive. 3 games, 2 wins and a draw. Just to put that into some perspective, that's as many wins as they've had in the previous 13. So a minimum of 60 seconds added on at the end of this first half. First time by Kenny Evans. Hollis heading clean. Was helped on by Wedgbury. Baldwin. Real boxer tricks, isn't he, the Dutch winger? And he's got 3 waiting in the middle here. And Wootton. It's going to drop now for Mitch Rose. Great first touch. He's got options in the middle. Kept up by Jalal. And then the trip by Thomas on Hollis, and it brings to an end what's been a really entertaining first half. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, interesting 45 minutes ahead of us, and important at both ends of the table. Notts County 7th in the final playoff place right now. Chesterfield 4th from bottom, inside the relegation zone. Really big 3 points on offer here as Yarni lofts forward here for Chesterfield. Smith. High ball by Wedgbury. Brilliant headed forward for Notts. Just wouldn't quite come down quickly enough for Denton, but was he caught there on the edge of the area? The Notts County players immediately told him to get up.
I thought to start with it was, even he got there first. How much contact there was, I'm not too sure.
Could be a chance here though. Weston. Smith with the ball back. Good intent from the Spireites at the start of the second half. Flicked on by Denton. Bit of a slice clearance by Lacey. Been key since John Pemberton took over. Jonathan Smith, 3 goals in 3 games. Managed to get him into too many goal-scoring positions so far today. Certainly a bright start, a positive start to the second half from Chesterfield. Looking to go 4 games unbeaten, the Spireites, something they haven't managed since a run of 6 games without defeat between the 12th of March and the 13th of April last season. Yarni plays forward. That ball seeking out Denton. And Smith, it's going to drop for him here. Chance of a counter-attack here for the Magpies. Baldwin with the pass. Latched onto here by Roberts. Thomas and Wootton waiting. Hit by Rose. That came off Thomas.
Fairly same start to the first half to the start of the second half, where Chesterfield are going a little bit more direct into Denton. Smith and Weston are just playing a little bit higher in front of Wedgbury to drop on those aerial balls that do drop down on the edge of the box.
Enzio Baldwin has overhit the cross. Talked about the need for Notts County to stick to their principles, to carry on playing what he called their normal game. At this stage of the season, Adam, it's pretty common, as Neil Ardley has done, to almost play the psychological trick on the players of breaking down the season. He said, look, we've got 15 matches here, almost treat it, I suppose the reason for saying that is to get it into a player's head, maybe to treat it as almost like a mini season.
Yeah, and you see a lot of managers will do that, breaking it down. You'll see that at the bottom of the league, where not necessarily where you pick up points from, but they will try and break it down as much as possible. Try and put some of the season behind them to look forward and try and build that momentum. They certainly may believe that they can still catch Harrogate in that second place. It's a massive order for them to do that, of course.
Barrow right now 7 points clear at the top of the table, with a significantly better goal difference than any other side as well, which is worth another point, plus 30. Barrow's goal difference, and it's hard at the moment to see them being caught, not just because of the form that they've been in, but because the sides below them not really being consistent enough.
And I think their work rate when they don't have the ball is exceptional. The front three, Angus and Quigley and Rooney in particular, defensively they're very sound, and I think if they do win the league, Adam, I don't think we'll hear the end of it from Grant Holt, will we? Because I think he may have tipped them at the start.
He did. Baldwin. Brinley stayed down, the right back, after being caught late after the ball had been played there.
Nice way, late ones from Weston, top of the ankle. It's only a free kick.
Started 12 games in a row now. Weston's probably been Chesterfield's best player over the last few months. Roberts with the cross, and it was Weston who got his head on that, and Jalal punched clear, and Rawlinson's up from the back, and the shot on the turn was by Lacey. Yarni now strides clear here for Chesterfield. Find Fitzsimmons. Mitch Rose. Oh, lovely turn. Brilliantly done by Enzio Baldwin. He's got options in front of him. He didn't need them. Spectacular from Enzio Baldwin. What a clean strike that was. No other thought in his mind than to go for goal, and that is devastating from the Dutchman.
Absolutely magnificent bit of individual skill. I was talking about the press of Chesterfield. You get the ball on the half turn, they can do that. I don't think Wedgbury does anywhere near enough. Scored a similar goal against Barnet towards the start of the season. Hasn't really been in fine form in front of goal recently, but that is one way to get your name back on the score sheet, and this game needed it. A bit of individual quality. No keeper saves that, Adam. Unbelievable strike.
His 7th in the league this season. He's got a bit of a goal competition going on with his good friend Christian Dennis, who's on the bench today. Takes him one behind his teammate for National League goals this season. I said earlier in the half, he says the best player he's ever played with is Dries Mertens, the Belgian international. Dries Mertens would have been proud of that hit. Chesterfield looking to hit back, and Smith will strike it. And the deflection takes it out for a corner. Almost an instant response from the Spireites.
It's a really, really important block there from Kelly Evans. Direct into Denton again. Decent reaction there from Chesterfield. They need that now. It's a big 10 minutes for them to not let the goal affect them. The penalty didn't affect them. I thought they finished the first half very, very strong. We're talking about characters now. This is where you see who's got the right character to see this situation through.
Unbeaten, remember, under John Pemberton. It's his 4th game in charge. They're going to have to come from behind here. Deep corner from Buchanan, and Denton's there. They're appealing both players. Well, Chesterfield surprised they've not got a corner here, but it will be a goal kick. been 6,300 inside Meadow Lane today, 1,400 of them supporting Chesterfield. And they've seen a moment of real quality from the goal scorer, Enzio Baldwin. O'Brien. Six home games unbeaten, Notts won half of those. Last team to beat them here in the National League. The current leaders Barrow, that on the 16th of November. In fact, that's their only loss in their last 16 home matches in all competitions. Barnet, the only other side to beat them at Meadow Lane this season. But if they could hold on to this lead, or even better it, it would be a really big 3 points towards their promotion ambitions.
Well, it will be. The game becomes even more important towards, say, the business end of the season, as we're so many times for managers.
There is the top 10 in the National League. That's as it stands, so Notts level on points with Bromley. They would go there. That would take them above Bromley, as you can see, if they were to win this today. It's so important to finish in that top three, isn't it, because of the way that the playoffs work out in terms of the playoff eliminators and who has to play more games, etc., who has home advantage. Bowden, I'm sure will be playing that penalty miss through his mind, particularly with Notts having taken the lead here. O'Brien. Baldwin. Kelly Evans. We're on our way, the chant from the Notts County supporters. Certainly a lot more positivity around the stadium right now than there was at the end of last season. Embarrassment, I think, one of the feelings experienced by Notts supporters at the time. Denton will strike this early! Oh, goodness me, what a strike that was. The big man got hold of that. So unlucky.
Very unlucky. Great hold-up play there from Bowden. Sweet as you like. Catch a ball sweeter than that. Keeper's beaten, even he is central in the goal. The power would have beaten him, but the woodwork didn't.
Only one goal in his last 9 appearances for Denton. John Pemberton said he was the first of the players he spoke to individually when he took over, because Denton admitted to him he's lacking confidence, or was. This man certainly isn't lacking confidence, as we saw for the goal.
I mentioned the press from Chesterfield is throughout the game, but Wedgby has to do much better than that. And it's brilliant individual thinking. It's in that distance, a through ball or a sideward pass is not really going to work, so you have to be confident to go and take that shot towards goal. Caught it magnificently well, and this game needed it.
Wootton with the ball wide, but a difficult one for Baldwin to keep it. First came to England in May of 2016 when he went to Crawley, started out at Utrecht in the Netherlands. Enzio Baldwin. Not a man to be messed with either, I'm told. He does kickboxing to keep down with topping up his fitness. Can Chesterfield find a way back into this? They certainly have plenty of time on their side. It's going to be Cropper to take the throw-in. And we're seeing the havoc that he can cause with these long throw-ins already today. Nice turn by Thomas, who looked to bring Roberts into the game. O'Brien. Kelly Evans. Baldwin. Brinley. Roberts. Roberts with the cross, great ball, fine header! 2-0 Notts County. Kyle Wootton with the second. All about the cross though from Roberts on his home debut. So well created, and they've got a lot to be happy about right now.
Massive, massive goal in the context of this game. What a ball this is from Callum Roberts. I say it, it's a goal ball. Straight out of his feet, he knows exactly where it's going to go. And it's just great strength and determination from one to get in front of Yarni. Heads it down brilliantly. The minute that ball left Roberts' foot, I knew that was going to be a goal. Great header, great determination. Big, big goal for Notts County.
First goal that Wootton scored since he made his move to Meadow Lane, a permanent one on the 8th of January, and it takes him into double figures in the National League this season. 10 for the campaign now for Kyle Wootton in the league. And is there any way back now for Chesterfield? It was John Pemberton about to experience his first defeat in charge of the Spireites. Up it goes towards Denton. The knockdown found Buchanan.
If they do get anything out of them, it has to get something in the next 10 minutes. No goals change games quite quickly.
A moment of brilliance from Ntio Baldwin got his side in front, and you could say similar really, Adam, about that cross from Callum Roberts. That is an absolute peach of a ball, isn't it?
Call them goal balls, Adam, where the minute it leaves the foot, you just know it's going to end up in the back of the net. It's a great ball to read, but that's been the biggest difference, is the quality in the final third. I know that Chesterfield hit the bar from Denton, I know that they've missed the penalty, but in open play, 2 bits of individual brilliance has been the difference so far. I'm sure the penalty from Scott Bowden, they will look back on that as a massive chance in the first half.
David Buchanan with the throw. Weston, Buchanan. Weston's cross charge down. Baldwin. Chesterfield certainly have been very reliant on 2 players in particular for goals this season. Fondop, who's suspended today, and Bowden have scored 19 of the Spireites' 42 league goals, so just under half. They'll be glad to get Fondop back. This is the final game of his 3-match ban. Scored a couple in a friendly during the week. 2-1 victory over Ilkeston on Tuesday. John Pemberton was saying that he's keen to get those friendlies for Fondop because he wants him to hit the ground running when he is back available. Denton with the header. Buchanan's cross, and Denton's there! Couldn't apply the touch. Fantastic ball into a great area.
Well, what I will say is Chesterfield's reaction from the penalty miss to the goals has been excellent. They've still kept on the front foot. It's a big chance here for Tom Denton, but what a ball that was in there from Smith.
Kelly Evans. Baldwin. Kelly Evans. Will Evans. Rawlins has been excellent at the back for Notts County this season. Only won 7 Welsh Premier League titles with TNS. Formed a good standing with Alex Lacey since Lacey came to the club in November. Here's Wood. Now Enzio Baldwin. Advantage played by the referee, James Bell. Brindley's up from the back here. Blocked by Buchanan. Chesterfield really have never truly recovered from what was such an unexpectedly poor start to the season. They didn't win any of their first 10 games of the campaign, drew 5 of them. But is there any way back for them here? Around half an hour to go with, of course, the inevitable added time we'll get. Smith. There's calmness personified there. Here's Cropper. Smith. Played wide by Wedge. Buchanan. Inside it goes to Curtis West. Played it without looking. Baldwin. O'Brien. Kelly Evans. No need for Notts County to take chances to force anything. They've got this 2-goal cushion, but they'll have to defend here. Buchanan getting forward, and he'll have a go, and he'll force a fine save. Really good stop by Fitzsimmons to deny Buchanan.
It's a magnificent save from a magnificent shot. It's a standing jump which makes it even better, so he really has to generate his own height to tip that round the post. I have to say, Chesterfield reacted brilliantly when things have gone against him in this game, where maybe in other games you just see their heads drop. Certainly a lot of credit to the manager that they're still fighting for everything that's still left in this game.
Curtis Weston to take the corner. That's a waste. Notts County let off the hook a bit there as we go into the final 25 minutes of normal time at Meadow Lane, and Chesterfield are looking to make a double change here. One of those being replaced is Scott Bowden, who of course saw his penalty saved in the first half. Won't get the opportunity today anyway to redeem himself for that. So Mandeville and Mackay are the players coming off. Wedgbury, the other player being replaced. Liam Mandeville, signed from Doncaster in June. 2 goals in 25 league games for him this season. And Mackay, who was signed from Cardiff last January, he's got 2 goals himself in the league this season. In fact, Mackay actually scored in the friendly win over Ilkeston on Tuesday night. And he do it where it really matters in the National League. Chesterfield in the relegation zone and 2-0 down here.
Certainly very attacking substitutions from Chesterfield there from John Pemberton. Almost seems like now Denton's going to lead the line, and 2 subs that have just come on him. Kevin Mandeville just going to offer him a little bit of support either side of him. Okay, just to play a little bit higher.
Cropper. Nicely worked here. Mackay's ball back, Yardy's ball in. First touch for Liam Mandeville. Mandeville was a player that John Sheridan regarded as technically being the best player at the club in terms of his technical ability, but what he did question was maybe his application, his discipline in terms of on the pitch as well.
I think that's just a typical signing from Chesterfield this season that hasn't worked out, and so the recruitment of players that have come in have just not performed well enough been a major issue. You bring players in to strengthen the squad from last season after finishing off the season very strong. Haven't quite been able to do what they've come into being asked of them.
O'Brien, who's done well in central midfield for a man who hadn't started since mid-December. It's a real horror injury which O'Brien has been recovering from since then. He had an 8-inch gash in his leg, in his thigh. Required 45 stitches. Actually got the injury, O'Brien, in the challenge with Curtis Weston when they were playing against Chesterfield in the FA Trophy. Get the free kick. I have to say the slide of both of these clubs in recent years is quite remarkable, really. Chesterfield reached the League One playoffs as recently as 2015. Notts were relegated from that level the same season. And now both clubs find themselves in the 5th tier and attempting to rebuild. Brilliant. Putting the pressure here on Hollis. Just to remind you, you can see all the goals from the Vanarama National League games today in our highlights show. That's with Matt Smith and Chris Hargreaves directly after this at 7:30. And we have an FA Cup replay for you between two Premier League sides on Wednesday. Tottenham up against Southampton. And the winners of that game will be at home to Norwich in the 5th round. Baldwin saw the movement there from Roberts.
He's looked sharp, Roberts, on that right-hand side, and what I like about him as well, he hogs the touchline, but he's also happy to come in off the line and try and play on threaded through balls.
Genuine surprise out of in the northeast when Newcastle let Callum Roberts go, the player who put that wonderful cross in for Notts' second goal today. Started to get in and around the first team setup at Newcastle. Certainly seemed to be in the thoughts of those around the first team setup. Scored in an FA Cup win at Blackburn last season, but they let him go, went to Blythe and did very well there, and now he seems to be settling in well at Notts County. Kelly Evans. How well's he done, by the way, at left back, opposite side of the pitch to where he would normally expect to be. Filling a gap, really, today, in that respect. Baldwin. Brilliant. Kelly Evans. O'Brien. Good challenge to win it back for the Spireites as Weston chips it forward. And it's Mackay who needs some support. Denton's arriving in the box. And there's the cross towards Denton. And Cropper's kept it in. Flag went up, and it's a free kick to Notts.
Bit too much on the cross there for Tom Denton. Good counter-attacking play there from Mackay, running the line really well. Good decision there, just went over the byline. Things have gone very well so far for John Pemberton in caretaker charge. It's a severe test right now, 2-0 down away from home against a side who are
looking to move up to 6th in the National League. And they've given away possession rather cheaply here. Wootton to Thomas. Thomas going down rather optimistically, hoping for a free kick. Denton. Evans, Enzio Baldwin. And the Evans cross. Happy to take the ball. Still some hope perhaps here of turning things around. Chesterfield at 2, but Notts County will know that a third would surely snuff out any of that hope. It's another good ball in by Roberts, and it was Lacey who was forward from the back.
Another decent ball there from Cannon Roberts. Didn't quite do enough to stop that cross coming in when you know it's going to go short.
Well, since coming in November, Lacey, a player who's won the National League, that with Luton back in 2014. Playing with real composure at the back. Such a stark contrast between the summers that these two clubs had. What a turmoil that ended with new owners for Notts, after new signings. So it was a little bit more settled at Chesterfield. Kept the same manager, kept many of the squad that had had a strong end to last season. But the continuity just didn't pay dividends for the Spireites. Yarni in towards Denton. Another attack comes to nothing for Chesterfield. Baldwin. Inside he goes, onto his right foot, and it's been spilled, and it's the third. The mistake by the goalkeeper presented a present to Carl Wootton, who gets his second, Notts County's third, and surely that's the point now.
We spoke about Scott Bowden not following in when he missed his penalty, and this is what happens. You're on the front foot. Carl Wootton does that brilliantly. Bowden on the right-hand side. I think Yarni needs to do a little bit more than what he does here. You know he wants to cut inside on his right foot. That is just too easy. And then Jalal, you have to look at a keeper of his experience. He knows deep down he should be doing better than that. But it's a poor goal all round to concede. It's not the best shot there, but well followed in there from Carl Wootton, and really now I could say it's game, set and match.
Well, he'd been sent out on loan on numerous occasions by Scunthorpe, the club that he was contracted to for 13 years. Came through the youth system there, but now has found a new home, it would seem, at Meadow Lane at Notts County. Carl Wootton is his strike partner here. Wes Thomas is replaced by Christian Dennis, who's had a really tough week because, of course, he was a good friend of Jordan Sinnott, who he played with at Chesterfield. Jordan Sinnott, who, for those of you not aware, lost his life a week ago after being assaulted after a night out. I'm told that Christian Dennis has been personally to see the family of Jordan Sinnott this week to offer his condolences. So, been a tough time for him, and of course many others, because of that. Such tragic story off the pitch. Smith. Yardi. Well, that just sums things up for Chesterfield right now.
I think when you look back at just the quality in both boxes, it's been a massive, massive difference. Why Neil Hardy's side, they could probably come away with 3 points this evening. don't think Chesterfield's performance reflects the scoreline, to be honest, Adam. I think they've actually played quite well in certain parts. You're not going to come in and turn a team around short on confidence and expect them to play like Barrow. It's going to take time. He's done well this afternoon, Jim O'Brien, as well.
Yeah, making his first start since mid-December. He's that recovery from that nasty gash he had to the leg. But has done well with the captain. Remember, Michael Doyle suspended today. O'Brien's come in and filled that gap superbly, and now it's a chance for young Tom Crawford to show what he can do in that position. Just 20 years old, Tom Crawford, only making his 4th league appearance of the season. Let's tell you about a raft of Premier League football that we have coming up live on BT Sport next weekend. Firstly at Goodison Park, early kick-off on the Saturday, Everton against Palace. Big game at the bottom of the table, Brighton against Watford is the evening kick-off on the Saturday. And then on the following day at lunchtime at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United chasing a European place up against Bournemouth, one of the sides fighting relegation right now. 3 games, 3 live Premier League games on BT Sport for you live next weekend. Smith just behind Buchanan. It's a nice turn and a good ball too. Cross from Yarni, seeking out Denton, straight at the keeper. It's not been his day in front of goal.
No, decent ball this time from Yarni. Good connection on the header, but fortunately for Notts County, goalkeeper quite easily. Not enough quality has been hit to Denton for him to go and attack balls like that this evening.
I have to say credit to the Notts County goalkeeper, Ross Fitzsimmons, because it would have been very difficult for him coming into these circumstances, recalled from his loan at Chesterfield because of the injury to Slocum, the regular Notts goalkeeper. Playing against players who were teammates only a week or so ago, and against a club that we're led to believe he could actually end up going back to eventually, but he's not put a glove wrong today for Notts County.
No. I'm sure we'll get a warm welcome, saving the penalty, keeping a clean sheet.
And this man has done well too. Roberts, who's replaced here by Piers Bird. Very good home debut for Callum Roberts, the man replaced here.
A really good afternoon for Callum. I think his work rate, but his quality on the ball has been absolutely magnificent. Good out ball for Notts County as well.
Yarni. Long it goes from Will Evans. Chesterfield seeking to avoid what would be a 3rd relegation in 4 seasons, and they saw the opening goal scored against them today by Enzio Baldwin. Adam Virgo's man of the match.
Oh, just only a picture a couple of seconds ago, and the game needed a bit of quality, and he brought that with a magnificent goal. I think when he's been on the ball, he's been brave. I think him and Callum Roberts have been 2 great outball for Neil Ardley's side, but just the individual quality for the goal, and then for the 3rd goal as well, his influence on that. It's a good evening's performance there from Baldwin.
Mandeville's ball. Evans. He's done well here, the centre-half. And eventually, the decision goes against him. Foul on Kelly Evans, according to the referee. That just looked a little bit like a big man overpowering someone a lot smaller.
That's what I call a wrestle-off.
So important this, Adam, isn't it, that if, as it looks, Chesterfield are going to go on to lose this, that it ends this run that John Pemberton's been on since he took over. The reaction from Chesterfield, psychologically as much as anything else, inside that bottom four, having lost that first game, they've got to hit back quickly.
Well, they will do. I mean, it's an absolutely massive game against Wrexham next, which, say, 6 points now quite easily, and I think John will be looking for characters, come in, new ideas. Players have reacted well off him. This will be his first biggest test to see how the players react now with each training coming up. But what I've seen from them, regardless of that, I've seen a better work rate from them. I don't expect managers to come in and make them, as I said before, play like Barrow on the front foot, play in the final thirds. Don't come into a side that's struggling near the bottom for that to happen straight away. But he's had the, I would say, the new manager's reaction, but he's had a reaction from his players. And on a different day, Scott Bowden's penalty goes in, then you may be looking at a different situation in the second half. But unfortunately, when you're near the bottom of the league, Adam, things don't fall for you.
I said before the game, John Pemberton, that Chesterfield need to understand where they are and accept responsibility. They need to be more organised, they need to be harder to beat, things they have been in his previous 3 games in charge, but trailing 3-0 today as they seek one back here as we approach the final 5 minutes. Good claim by Fitzsimmons. Was he in your shortlist for man of the match?
He's done well. Done very, very well when called upon. Really important save with the penalty. He's made some important saves in the second half.
Taken down nicely by Dennis, Wooten in the middle on a hat-trick. Seems to have a great relationship with Neil Ardley as well, Carl Wooten. Really enjoying his football at Notts County. Talked about the rapport that Adam has with his head coach. How much of a lift, how much beneficial can that be? You don't have to get on, I would imagine, with every manager that you play under, but when you do have that good rapport, how much does it help?
Oh, it's massive. I think man management now today in the modern game is, I'd say, 80% of what they need to be in terms of getting the best out of players, especially at this level as well. Confidence is a massive thing, and that's what sometimes you see with players. One week they're at magnificent, and the next minute they're dropping off their level, and that's consistency and confidence. Neil's worked with players at AFC Wimbledon that needed to be taught things, and that management side becomes vitally important. It's got a good thing going here.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, football? I remember right at the start of the season when Notts had a pretty indifferent start to the campaign. There were some calling for Neil Ardley to lose his job. I suspect there wouldn't be many right now with that opinion.
He's turned things around. I remember at the start of the season he was adjusting to the National League, becoming everybody's cup final. I remember him saying about having 7 subs in the Football League, now going down to 5. Things are different. And the pressure of just that champion spot and the one promotion spot as well.
Crawford. Chesterfield seeking to avoid what would be a 3rd relegation in 4 seasons. League One side as recently as 2017. For them to be playing in National League North is almost unthinkable, but it is a distinct possibility.
It most definitely is. As I mentioned, they've got Wrexham over, then a few weeks after that they've got Ebbsfleet. Massive games. I'm sure John will be looking at as massive, massive games to get 3 points.
Start Chesterfield had to this season was all the more surprising when you consider the way they'd ended the previous campaign. They only lost 2 of their last 9 games, they won 5 of them. I think it's the reason why so many people looked at Chesterfield before the season started and thought they've got to have a chance of going up, but Just hasn't worked out. Yarni's cross, too high for Denton. Rose under pressure, wouldn't have wanted that ball really from Crawford. They've made a mess of that, Notts. The header clear was by Pierce Burke. I have to say, Notts supporters are used to their ups and downs as well. Last season was their 17th relegation, and they've won 13 promotions. It's very rarely dull as a Notts County supporter. Last minute of normal time. Free kick taken quickly. Chesterfield seeking consolation. Players right now, deservedly really getting a lot of credit. They've been on that 9-game unbeaten run before losing at Dagenham and Redbridge last week, but it's worth repeating the credit that those off the pitch at Notts County deserve. Non-playing staff who went more than 2 months without being paid this summer, although they were finally paid their wages for June and July after the takeover was completed over the summer. There were people, Adam, who stuck by this club in very, very difficult times.
Yep. I think that never gets sounded enough, Adam, in terms of what, not just in the National League, but non-league in general, the behind the scenes of what people do. Sometimes not being paid anything, they just come in for the love of the football club, the love of the game. This is a massive club, shouldn't be in the National League. Big fan base, and what Neil's done is build a real fortress here in particular. It's very difficult now to come away with anything.
Smith. Good movement here by Mandeville. Baldwin. Unless my ears deceive me there, Adam, the sponsors agree with your choice of man of the match, which is a rarity in our coverage.
Just a pretty face, am I?
And you've not picked a centre-half today, either.
It's my New Year's resolution, I wasn't to pick a defender till March.
Weir. Weir again. Notts County have a break from the promotion race next weekend when they make the long trip to Yeovil in the last 16 of the FA Trophy. The next league game is at home to Woking. And as Adam mentioned earlier, Chesterfield have a huge game at home to Wrexham next. They go to Yeovil, which will be tough. After that, Yeovil, remember, 4th in the table. John Pemberton has got a lot of work to do on both in the mines and on the training ground. Some great shots. They have plenty of power behind it from Weston.
Perspective from that distance.
Do Chesterfield have enough to stay up, Adam? It's a big call from what you've seen of late.
I think just. I don't think it's going to be the easiest ride in from now to the end of the season. I think there's Chorley, Ebbsfleet, unfortunately. I think they might be in this division next year, and then I've already said Fylde, I expect them to go down the way that they're playing. It's a massive, massive result for Notts County.
Neil Ardley's side take all the points.